Hi everyone, and welcome back to insidetracks.co.uk. We're going to do this video today on when to enter a market and with sort of what sort of stake do you want to enter a market to give yourself the best chance of making a profit at the least risk. So I'm going to address that issue. If you haven't watched my videos, then there are plenty of them covering all sorts of things. Do like this video and subscribe if you do. Send me any comments. I'm here to learn as much as you are. Send in any questions you want, and do become a patron if you watch my videos regularly. That'll help me make some more. So let's get straight to the question of when do you want to enter a market, and what kind of stakes do you want to put on? So here we are. We're just choosing a race. It's not particularly a big race. We're here at 10 to 2, and the race goes off at 10 past 2. So we're about 20 minutes before the race. Now, when do you want to start your betting? Well, it just depends on what type of trading you're thinking about doing. Obviously, if we look back at some of the charts here, we can see that you could have backed this horse at its all-time high of 2.66 if you were the first person into the market yesterday. So if you thought this was a great horse to back, then you would potentially back it as early as you possibly could when the market opened. So that's sort of almost anti-post betting, and of course that's the time to go in. You really think that a horse has shown you something, and you think you've got the edge then on the majority out there, then bet early and hope that the market then comes in. And of course, if you'd gone in at 2.66, you could have got quite a decent profit fairly shortly afterwards, even though there'd been very little money put on the race. And in fact, of course, you can't make a lot of money here because at this point, you'd probably only got, let's just see how much 2.66 got covered. 2.66 was only £2, £7. So you might have got £9 on at just over 2.6. So, yeah, and then 2.14 was only covered by 13. So that strategy it is one for very low stakes, for reasonable profits, as long as you've got some kind of clear view and one that it's going to be better than the most and you can get on early. Now, you all know about my trick. I hope you do. You can go watch the video about it with Hugh Taylor. Hugh Taylor sends out his tips in the morning via Twitter, and quite often you'll see this kind of chart of a steep drop just after he publishes his tips, where all of his followers back it. It goes right down, and then we see it bounce back. So I would often do that in the morning, look for his tips and see which ones I think have gone far too far, and then I lay them, and then they generally tend to drift. And you'll see the video there. I think quite a few of you guys now have seen that video, and the drift doesn't seem to happen quite so readily, and the drop doesn't seem to be quite so big, but there's still money to be made in that strategy. So these are sort of on the edge strategies, really. What you want to know is what money to place and when. Now, of course, if you're doing something like a back to lay, then my general view on back to lays is, unless again you know something that the rest don't, then I wouldn't tend to put my money on early in case the horse drifts. Because actually quite often a back to lay may well drift because the professionals know it's a back to lay, and maybe they're betting to win, and so they don't see this as necessarily a good option for them. and so the money that's coming in on a win basis isn't coming in on the same basis as maybe you coming in a back delay, and so the horse will drift, which is great news actually for those who want to back delay, because then the horse, for instance, let's just say you are backing delay this horse because it's in stall 1 at Chester and it has a good early speed, and you have a good feeling that then it's going to get out in front and get around that bend and be going up the straight with a couple of lengths advantage, then you will be feeling quite positive that your back delay will pay off. And so a drift in the price is absolutely perfect. It's just giving you a better chance of making the profit level you want to make. So so I generally go for back delays, and I generally go at the as close to the start as possible, trying to get the best possible price I can. Of course, I watch it and I try. I may even do a little bit of scalping on it to give me a better chance at making that back delay. So so therefore, we're really down to are we going to scalp this market, and if so, what are we going to scalp? So I'll deal with that question next. So there are certain things you want to do if you're going to look at any market and decide on what you're going to do next. So there are, I'm not using any software here because I think software tends to muddy the waters for those people who are watching who aren't that experienced. And I can show you just as easily on this as I can on a piece of software. So what we're looking for quite obviously is this number here. Now this is the match total on the race so far, and what you're seeing is that at the moment there's 32,591 pounds, and then it's going up about, what would you say that is, 10 pounds every second, maybe a bit more than 10 pounds every second. So at this point, with 15 minutes to go, we're seeing some movement in this. But what we're going to see, and we know this from all the experience we have, we know that the market would tend to speed up, and that in the between 10 minutes, so about 2:05, we should see this speed up, and we should see about another 30% of what's going to go on to the market in the total coming on between 10 minutes and 5 minutes before the race. And then in the last 5 minutes, we see about 50% of the total. So if there's going to be, I think the last race here I had a quick look at was about 130,000. So today's a really quite a quiet day, and Chepstow isn't a popular track, and we're talking about nags versus nags here. These aren't great horses running here at Chepstow. It's a sort of fairly lowly rated track with fairly lowly rated horses riding in it on a Thursday. So not surprisingly, we'll see about 50,000, I think. And at the moment, we've got 35 of it on. So so we're going to start seeing this speeding up. You can see it already. It was going 10 pounds a second. Now it's going 229, 270. So that's 40 pounds. So yeah, it's going at about 20, 30 pounds a second, and that will continue to rise as we go closer to the off. What you'll notice is also that those horses at the top of the betting, these have the most amounts of money up for trading. In fact, we can see that the favourite 16 and 66. You can, if you wanted to back this horse at 2.42, you'd have 163 pounds there, 157 pounds there. If you wanted to lay it at 2.46, you'd have 66 pounds. And if you look, you should see who's got the most money up for grabs, and you can actually see that the second favourite, Soldier Sun seems to have more money up for grabs at either to back or to lay than the favourite. Okay, they're not too far off it, considering that it's double the odds. So, and this is 35, 55, and then as you move down into the bigger odds, we're seeing sort of 8s and 10s really down here, and they don't move very much. So this Tally's Sun, if you want to get money onto this, you won't get much more than a fiver's worth matched at this point, and it's only 7 minutes to go. Sorry, 12 minutes to go before the off. So depending on which horse you're going to back and or want to scalp, will depend on what liquidity you're going to get, and you're looking for a horse with decent liquidity. Now you can see a Soldier Sun seems to have decent liquidity. This is increasing. See, 500 now has come in. So we're getting a few decent people coming through. This is now moving at it's still moving at a decent enough pace. It hasn't really got going, but it will do fairly shortly. That will start moving at sort of £200 a second, and then £200 a second, and then we'll see it going up to sort of 150,000. So we're looking at the market. We're saying if we're going to scalp this market, we're looking for liquidity. One way of checking how the market has been in the past and how the horse is you can look at this particular figure here. So we also look at the direction of travel. Yeah, so it does look as if this Mastylium is being backed, and there seems to be a quite decent bet going around about here, which is pushing it down. So there seems to be some support for the horse. And if we multiply the amount of money that's gone onto the selection, 23,500, by 2.3, say, so let's say 2, it's 46, 47, plus a third, another 7, so we're saying is about 50,000 if we multiply that by that, which is more than is on the market, which means that this particular favourite, Mastylium, is what we call an overweighted horse, which means that this has got some consequence for anybody who wants to scalp. It means that this variation here is relatively low, yeah? And it means that when a horse is being backed in a certain direction, it will tend to very, very dedicatedly go down. It's not going to go whoom, 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 whoom like that. So let me just discuss now further horses. So now we're seeing this Soldier Sun, interesting profile. Again, if you were a stable lad or something here, it does appear that some of the sort of small money has gone on in the morning, and even last night, and even during the morning it's gone on. So there is some general support. I would say that's probably sort of informal type of money going in. And maybe the owners have put a few quid on, the stable staff have put a few quid on in the morning. So there's some support here, and you shouldn't be ignored. But it's a relatively low amount of money. The maximum bet there was about £120. Then it's sort of leveled out at 4, and now it's fairly leveled out at just under 5. The last bet to be matched was 4.8, and if we multiply 11. Nearly 12,000 by nearly 5, that's 60,000. It's just under 60,000. So say about 50, 55, 56. So, but that is higher than the 47. So actually, this horse has had more money bet on it than its price would suggest it should have had. So it's an overweighted horse as well, which means again we're not seeing huge amounts of variation in the price. And also, as you can see here, it's been fairly consistent in the price, even though higher levels of money have come in for it. So what we can see here is that when you have an overweighted horse, both the favourite and the second favourite overweighted, what you can see clearly is there's no very little variation. Let me just try and show you another one, which is 17.5 times 1,000 would would be 17,500 versus 50. So what we're seeing here is a very heavily underweighted horse. And as you can see, there's really quite a lot of variation. The variation is sort of 0.5s, 1s, 2s. So here you're seeing a horse which is very underweighted, and therefore its price will change reasonably severely. I mean, with what £45 put on it, it drifted from about 17 to about 20. So that's what a very small bet of £45 can do to this horse. I mean, here we went from 25 to 25s down to 20s with a bet of £22. So again, it depends on when you're getting into the market. You would have been struggling to get that money away. It's a very unliquid market for this horse because it's only had £1,175 matched on it. So if you wanted to get £1,000 matched, you just couldn't do it. It's not, the liquidity simply isn't here. Whereas with the favourite and the second favourite being overweighted, you have a good chance of getting significant amounts of money matched. So the answer to the first question that was asked of me, when should you enter a market? We discussed the possibilities of entering a market in a sort of very early with Hugh Taylor, and you know, at times when you think that there's a good price because you know better than you've got a piece of information which you think is there, and you're feeling that's going to give you an edge. But if you're going to go in and scalp, then the advice is to get in just as the market's beginning to get a bit liquid and onto horses which are showing liquidity. So as I've just shown you, there's two horses in this race which are particularly liquid, have been. So you could have entered the market, say at 20 minutes to, and you could have scalped Mustilian, or you could have scalped Soldier Sun, and you were being given a fair view that Mustilian was fairly stable, and so was Soldier Sun, and you know, all you'd have to be aware of is them breaking out of their trading corridors, which were relatively tight because they are overweighted horses. So the advice would be on this is to go to a market 20 minutes or so, maybe half an hour before the race starts. There should be something like in here on a day like today, we had 30,000. That's why I tend to advise to go for bigger races where you're having 500,000, maybe 1 million on Betfair on that race, where you're seeing sort of this kind of level of liquidity already 20 minutes, half an hour before the race starts. We only have 3 minutes it should be 3 minutes to the off. We'll see. But we've only had £125,000. It's coming in at 1,000, a bit more on that a second. And we're seeing quite good liquidity actually in these two horses here. We're seeing that Soldier Sun is trading in a sort of corridor of 4.7 to 5.1. It's coming back in again. So it was drifting a bit. Now it's coming back in again. So again, it does feel that someone's out there knew something back here, took it a bit too far because there was low stakes and they were trying to get some money on. So they'd have taken a relatively low price, but then realized that. And so it drifted a bit and has drifted out to a sort of price that probably is about right, which is about 5 or just under 5. Now we're at 4.5. It was traded at 4, so it could come down to 4 in my opinion, but it'll probably sit round about there. And that would be giving these guys probably some profit, and the professionals here who maybe have heard the word are coming in for it late. That's what that chart tends to tell me. Mastylium should be just drifting a touch, which it is. Not radically and not at a great pace, as you see, and not, sort of not big jumps here. We're going relatively small jumps, but it is slightly drifting, which tends to be telling me that Soldier, the other horse, Soldier's Son, is getting some money in. So come in to the market 20 minutes before, go to a horse that's got some liquidity. What you'll see here is that will move around very little, and therefore will be relatively low risk scalping. And then watch out for the trading corridor here. We'd had 20 minutes to about 10 minutes before it was trading in a very, very narrow corridor, probably 2.3 to 2.24. So, really quite a tight corridor. So you could have got quite a few ticks in there, relatively decent amounts of money in that kind of corridor. And then you'd have seen it break out. You'd have seen that the money was coming for Soldier's Son. So you would have either continued to scalp on the basis of getting your lay trade in first and your back trade in second, and you'd have made a bit of money on that, and you'd have been sat round about now with quite a lot of liquidity, but you should have had some money in the bank because you'd have been doing your low risk trading here. So what I'd say to you is come in 20 minutes before, look for the liquidity in the trades, and we're seeing a bit of money coming in now. So this one's trading in the 4 to 5, and a bit of money's coming in now for Global Acclaim. You'll see that's happening there. So that's again not a bad little map, even though this is quite an weighted horse. 8 times 16 is 80, 126. So I mean, 28. Sorry. So you're really quite an underweighted horse here. So there's some money coming, positive money coming, that's moving this price down, albeit that there's not a great interest in this horse. There's just some interest in the horse. So we're seeing some late money coming in here, some decent money coming in for this horse, Soldier's Son, and just a slight drift from Mastylium. I'll come back when I've seen that the race has gone, and we'll have a quick look at the result. So I've just been watching the feed from Betfair. You can click this button here and you get live feed, and it does appear that there's a horse that's been uncooperative and has had to be walked to the stalls. So we're seeing that there's a delay to the race, but that's okay. We're seeing a bit more money coming on here. I thought there was going to be, how much when I started, 260 or so, and it's going to be 290 and a bit more. But money's coming in at a reasonably decent rate at the moment. A couple of hundred, £300, a bit more than that sometimes. But what is being confirmed is that someone somewhere, if it has a feeling for Soldier's Son, and we saw this bet down in the morning, down to 4, drift slightly, and then a bit of a backing in the last hour or so, and going from just under 5 when we joined it. We joined it about here, so it's only about the last half an hour or so. So we've joined it here, and it's just been backed, and we've now just seen a £2,000 bet come in. So it's back down to 4.1. So there is some definite feeling that connections, and now the professional money is coming in and saying, yeah, we think there's a good chance that this one might well do it, and that's been shown now in the breakout that we saw from this fairly static position, which we would have been scalping in. that now has been hit, and most of the money coming in is negative money for Mustilium. So we're seeing that price that we were getting down there at 2.26 and 2.28 has now gone out to 2.62. As we saw it break out, the thing about breakouts from trading corridors is that you absolutely have to wait. Do not get yourself into the situation where you are chasing losses. You should be cashing out when you see it breaking out, and either following the direction until it meets its new trading corridor, or waiting till you see this leveling out, and it's leveling out at somewhere between 2.6 and 2.66, and that's where I expect to see most of the money on the chart here is in this area. Yeah, so we've got money coming in here. It was trading, has traded quite a lot in here. Someone put decent amounts of money in at 2.46, which has driven it out. The majority of the money is in this sort of area here, 2.28 to 2.38, which is somewhere in here. And hopefully that's from previous discussion. If we came in 20 minutes before the off, we could have been scalping there because this was overweighted. Then it breaks out, cash out, wait for it to meet its next trading corridor, which it will be around about here now. Might be backed in, but let's see. I'm going to go back and have a quick look at the live feed, and we'll then see what happens in the race. Okay, so I watched that race, and at about the 2 furlong pole, Soldier Sun did look to be coming quite nicely on the bridle, but found very little under pressure, came fourth. Mustalium was under pressure a long way out, and just basically from hard riding from Tom Marquand managed to get third. Holden Hurst used the inside rail and just led the field from start to finish, and didn't really get challenged, which can happen at Chepstow, particularly in 7 furlong races. I've seen it happen before. The inside rail used as a way of keeping them going straight, and not being bothered by the rest. So but that doesn't help us in terms of our trading, because we want to be out of our trades, particularly when we're scalping before the off. What I think we did learn from this, total money 376, just before the off, it was 290, wasn't it? So what's the lessons? The first lesson is, when you come to a market, come to it about half an hour before. It should have somewhere around about 50,000 traded on it. On a decent day, it could be much bigger, but on a slow day like today, I would reckon you want to get some liquidity. You want about 50,000 having been traded. You're looking then at those horses which are overweighted, that have had a decent amount of money, and that have some liquidity already at 20 or 30 minutes. Look at the charts and see those overweighted horses aren't going to move around a lot, so you can then start scalping. Now, the answer to the second question is how much do I go in at? And as you can see, you can put a default stake in here, 5, 20, 30, or you can edit that down to whatever you want. I tend to go in with low stakes. You can go down to £2. You can't go any lower than £2. I tend to go in with £5. I can sometimes go in with 10. Depends on how I view the race and how liquid the market is, etc., and how confident I am. So I'll come into a market. I'll know a horse that I think is a good one, but I'll also then do the checks we just discussed. The liquidity, the overweighting, the direction, whether the horse is trading in a corridor, those checks. And then what I'll do is, when I'm confident and I understand what I'm doing, I will then go into the market and look for if as we said, Soldier's Sun or Mastellium, I would have gone for and seen their corridor. So Soldier's Sun was trading, I think, at 4.8, between 4.8 and 5. So I'd be looking for the trend. It was fairly flat. So I'd then say, okay, when someone's on a flat, they're not going anywhere. They're not drifting, or they're not shortening. I would tend to back it at the top of its range. So my view is backing something is always better than laying it, because your liability is lower. Your liability is your stake, unless this is a very low price, 4 to 6 or 1 to 2 job. That then is always the opposite. But anything that's over, even money, your liability is higher if you lay it than if you back it. So say we were going after Soldier's Sun and it was trading between 4.8 and 5. I'd look to be going in 20, 25 minutes, 30 minutes before, depending on the liquidity of the market. And I'd be putting a £5 bet at fives. And then I'd be looking to get that £5 bet matched at 4.9. And I would tend to be very low risk initially, just putting 0.1 at 5, so that'd be 50 pence into Soldier Sun little bank. I'll be trying to build up a little bank. So I'll be doing 5, 4.9, 5, 4.9, then maybe it went down to 4.8, so I'll be 4.9, 4.8, 4.9, 4.8. I'll be looking to put 50p in at a time. And then when I built up a small bank of, say, £3-4, I then say, okay, how confident am I in this trading? How confident am I that it's going to continue along those lines? I'll be looking at the other horses, see if anybody else is being backed or laid that might affect the Soldier Sun trading corridor. If I was confident, then I'd up it to £10, and I'd be doing £10, 5, 4.9, 4.9, 4.8. I'd be looking at doing £10, and I may be even spending some time saying, okay, if I can get 5, how confident am I it's going to go down to 4.8? And I'd be watching it and saying, okay, it looks like it is slightly being backed. I saw it was back this morning, so maybe it will go down a bit further. So maybe I'll put a bit more on now, and I'd have, say, £5 in the £10 in the Soldier Sun kitty, and I'd be saying, okay, right now, if it does break out the wrong way, I've got a cushion here that I can afford to be 2 or 3 ticks out if I put £20 on. So I'd then be saying, okay, if I can get 5, I'll put 20 on, and then I'll see where it goes. And if it goes down to 4.9, I'll let it go. And if it goes to 4.8, I'll let it go. And if it goes down to 4.7, I'll let it go. And then I'd have a feeling, okay, I'll cash out there. That seems to be as far as it's going down. That's trading corridor. It's not breaking out of there. I'm not getting 4.7. Maybe I'll be looking for 4.7, not getting 4.7. So I'll be then cashing out. I'll be trading out at 4.8 and waiting for it to go back up to 5 again, and putting another £20 on, and then I just play it by my instincts and keep growing the amount of money that I'm building in the Soldier Sun kitty, and then of course I see it drifting as we saw. It went from that 4.8 to 5 corridor. It suddenly came down right down to 4, didn't it? And there was some confidence that was going to happen. So again, I could have followed that trend as it broke out. I could say, right, I did say to you that there'd been money put on in the morning at 4, so that was where I thought the bottom would be in the market. So I could have said to you, yeah, I think it's going to go down to 4, and I think I did say this in the video. So maybe I want to put some more money on, £20 and see if it go down to 4. And then I would have definitely felt 4 was the bottom, and I'd be trading away from that and taking a negative position at 4 and hoping to get some money back as it drifted back out to, I think it's Betfair Trading. The starting price was 4.3. So and that's how I would have scalped this market. It's all very well, you might say it's all very well in hindsight, but I think I did predict pretty much what I'm saying now at the time. So start small. So when to start? 20 minutes, 30 minutes before the race, and all the things we've said about liquidity. Start small stakes, taking single clicks, ticks. Take the 5 to 4.9, take the 5 to 4.9, then maybe try to get the 5 to 4.8. Up your stakes once you've got a little pot, and then you can up your stakes again as the liquidity comes. But watch out as the last 5 minutes happen. That's when large amounts of money come in, and all rules go out the window, because you're seeing the 50% of the money. So if there's 290,000 at the off, 145 of that, I would have said, went on in the last 5, 6, 7 minutes. Now, it was a delayed race, so there was a little bit over, but I would have said 145 went on in the last 5 or 6 or 7 minutes of that betting. So again, as you get to the last 5 minutes, watch out, because things can break out of their trading corridors quite easily, because much more money is coming in at one time, and therefore, as I describe it, this if a horse is overweighted, I treat it like an oil tanker. It doesn't move easily. And if money's coming in at a relatively slow pace, as it does at 20 minutes, 15 minutes, 10 minutes before the race, it's coming in at a slow pace, relatively slow pace. Therefore, there's not a great wind coming in there. I treat the money coming in as the wind. So if you've got an oil tanker and there's relatively little wind, then it's not going to move much, and it tends to not move very far when it does move. Then you start seeing the last 5 minutes, and that now with the wind's picking up, and in the last sort of few minutes, when there's £1,000 coming on a second, and in some big races there's £5,000 coming on a second, then this is like a hurricane, and then prices can really change, and people are putting on not £500 but £5,000 at a time, £10,000 at a time, £20,000 at a time. Suddenly that kind of money moves prices and moves them relatively quickly, and if it's all negative money or all positive money, in the direction of travel. So watch out for the last 5 minutes, because you can scalp away and have a nice little pot of money, and then suddenly you're on the wrong side of a drift or a shortening, and you can lose your pot of money and even go into a negative situation. Whatever you do, don't let yourself be hoping that a price is going to return or come back into your favor. If it goes out, set yourself a limit. So if you're taking 1 or 2 ticks, then if it goes the wrong way, 3 ticks, then cash out, accept a small loss, and then start again, looking at the corridor and seeing whether it's going to come back into a corridor. Okay, I hope that's been useful. If it has, please like and subscribe to the channel, and as I said, I've got a Patreon site. Have a go at that. Be most grateful to you. And if you are trading today, please be careful. Don't take too many risks. It's all about risk management, and hopefully this has helped you to manage your risks even better. Cheers then. Bye bye.